What book or series kick-started your love for fantasy? Redwall. Magic Treehouse. It started early for me. Aragon for me. I had read things like Magic Treehouse and enjoyed it, but it didn't inspire me to seek out other fantasy books. When I first read Aragon, I was like 9, though it awoke something in me, and I just fell in love with the genre. After Aragon, I read Percy Jackson, and then Harry Potter, and then I just kept reading. Same. Dragons of Autumn Twilight was my first real fantasy. I read the first few Harry Potter novels around the same time, but didn't consider them fantasy at the time. Grinning Face with Sweat. Narnia. An early one for me was Tamora Pierce, especially her series set in the Tortall universe. The Chronicles of Prydan, The Hobbit, and then The Lord of the Rings. I haven't left the fantasy fiction section of the bookstore since I was 12 thanks to these amazing books. They changed my life. Has to be Harry Potter, Aragon, and Percy Jackson. As an adult though, Wheel of Time and Asoyev. Enid Blyton books, especially the Faraway Tree books. Way back when I was a kid there was a LOTR type book called The Sword of Shannara. Dark is Rising series by Susan Cooper when I was in 4th to 5th grade. Then shortly after devouring those, the Peter Jackson LOTR movies came out. It was a deadly 1-2 punch that hooked me. I had already been reading the Harry Potter books as they were releasing, but Susan Cooper and LOTR opened a new world for me. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Then The Riddle and the Rune was my first as a sort of self-discovery. Ooh, this looks cool. Can I read it, Mom? Book. Then The Belgariad was the first series where I really figured out I just liked fantasy a lot. Shout out to the Lone Wolf books/games, too. Those were pretty formative. Percy Jackson, read for years, kinda stopped reading for a while. Mistborn brought me back. Narnia in 5th grade. Then Hobbit/Lord of the Rings in 6th grade. Then Wheel of Time in 7th grade. Been obsessed with fantasy ever since. I'm 40 now, lol. I read loads of fairy tales as a child, and a lot of common children's books/media for my country are SFF. Jim Knopf, B.B. Blocksberg, Das Kleingespenst Krabat, Die Unendliche Geschichte. So there never was the one first fantasy book. I read a lot, and SFF was a natural part of my reading. There was, however, a time before I found the sub, when I was struggling to find something to read. I knew by that point that I wanted to read SFF or Regency/Victoria novels. I was about 30 years old, and F. The Dragonlance books are what started my love for fantasy. Magician from Raymond E. Feist. Excellent series to start with. Oh, how I loved those. Wished I could start all over again. Mine is probably very typical. It was the Harry Potter series that started my love for fantasy and reading in general. When I finished it, I was thirsty for more. So, I found my way to the world of fanfiction. Then I learned English and suddenly could read thousands of fanfiction written in English. Then I started to read books, especially fantasy. I've been a reader for maybe 15 years or so now. Narnia in the very early 90s as a young child, then Shannara Tortall Pern Valdemar in junior high. Miss Mathers, my grade 6 teacher, assigned us The Hobbit to read. I would have been 10 years old. It was 50 years ago. Within a year and a half, I would have read LOTR 3 or 4 times. The Legend of Drizzt got me started on fantasy. Now I'm exploring some different fantasy authors and expanding my reading list. Mistborn, First Law. Same. Dragonlance, 1987. I still have my original copies of Chronicles and Legends, but I got rid of all the others about 25 years ago. Huge mistake. Now I'm on a quest to buy them all back. More broadly, it depends on how we define fantasy and whether we include TV shows and movies. If we count the Super Friends cartoon as fantasy, which I do, then it's that. Not long after, Star Wars. A bit later than that, Dragonlance. TV, movies, books, pretty much in that order. Actually, I consider, say, Magician Apprentice by Raymond Feist. Sword of Shannara.